The text came in at 9:47 p.m. No greeting, no hesitation, just one sentence that landed in my chest like it had been waiting for the right moment to drop. Don't come to Mom's retirement dinner. She doesn't want you there. That was it. No explanation, no call, no room for misunderstanding. I stared at the screen, waiting for the follow-up bubble to appear. It didn't. What hurt more than the message itself was the small gray notification underneath it. Dad reacted thumbs up. He didn't type anything. He didn't call. He just agreed. I didn't argue. I didn't ask why. I didn't defend myself the way I had 100 times before. I typed one word. Fine. Then I did the one thing they never thought I would do. I stopped paying. Please subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon so you never miss a moment like this. Your like and share can carry this story to someone who needs hope, healing, or strength today. Red Heart. My name is Maribel. I was 36 years old when I finally understood how invisible usefulness can make you. From the outside, my family looked functional, respectable, the kind of family people assumed was close because we showed up to birthdays and posed for photos. Inside that picture, I had a role. I was the organizer, the fixer, the one who handled things. I worked in compliance for a mid-sized logistics firm. Not glamorous, but precise. Contracts, records, verification. Making sure everything aligned so nothing collapsed later. Somewhere along the way, my family realized those skills were transferable. When my mother forgot deadlines, I caught them. When accounts needed managing, I stepped in. When my sister wanted something done quickly, she came to me. I didn't announce it. I didn't keep track. I told myself that's what family does. My younger sister, Talia, had a different role. She was visible, expressive, effortlessly believed. If she made a mistake, it was stress. If I objected, it was attitude. That dynamic didn't start in adulthood. It just got better lighting. When my mom announced her retirement after 32 years at the same company, everyone reacted exactly how you'd expect. Talia talked about how huge it should be. My dad talked about not overcomplicating things. My mom said she wanted something elegant but simple. No one asked who would handle it. Somehow it became me. I found a private dining space connected to a botanical conservatory on the east side of the city. Not flashy, warm, quiet enough to hear each other talk. I coordinated menus around dietary restrictions my mother pretended not to have. I scheduled musicians she liked, not the kind Talia thought looked impressive on social media. I didn't put the event in my name. Instead, I did something else. Months earlier, when my sister said she wanted to handle invitations and announcements, she asked if she could use my professional account to enroll in an event management certification course. It'll help me plan better, she said. I just need access for a bit. The account was under my identity, tied to my continuing education credits. I paid for it annually anyway. I said yes. I didn't realize she didn't just use it. She registered the entire retirement event under my professional ID. Every vendor, every booking, every insurance form, all of it tied back to me. At the time, I thought nothing of it. I should have. The text message came a week before the dinner. After I replied, fine, I logged into the account and reviewed what was still active. Everything. I didn't cancel dramatically. I didn't send warnings. I simply withdrew authorization. Under policy, events registered under my credentials required my confirmation to remain insured and active. Without it, they unraveled quietly. No fireworks. No scenes, just gaps. The next day, I went to work like normal, answered emails, took meetings, ate lunch at my desk. My phone stayed silent until late afternoon. Then The first message came in. From my mother. Have you heard from the conservatory? They said something about documentation. I didn't respond. An hour later, Talia called. I let it ring. By evening, my father left a voicemail that said a lot without saying anything at all. We're confused. Call us. I didn't, because for once, I wasn't confused. They hadn't accidentally excluded me. They hadn't misspoken. They had decided I was optional. 7 days passed. By the third day, vendors started pulling out. By the fifth, the catering company flagged the booking as unconfirmed. By the sixth, the conservatory released the space. The retirement dinner didn't explode. It collapsed inward. The night it was supposed to happen, my phone finally lit up nonstop. Talia first, my parents after. Extended relatives who had no idea why plans had suddenly changed. I turned my phone face down. I didn't need to see it to know what they were saying. They weren't asking if I was okay. They were asking why things weren't working. And that's when I understood something I'd avoided my entire life. They didn't erase me because I stopped contributing. They erased me because they believed I always would. The morning after the dinner was supposed to happen, I woke up before my alarm. That used to mean panic, a mental checklist, something forgotten, something broken. This time, it meant nothing. No schedule to check, no apology to prepare, no damage to control. I lay there listening to the quiet hum of the refrigerator and realized my chest felt steady, not numb, not relieved, just steady. The messages started again around 8 a.m. My sister first. You seriously sabotaged Mom's retirement. Sabotaged. Not withdrew. Not stepped back. Sabotaged. I didn't answer. Then my father. We need to talk. This went too far. Too far compared to what? Erasing me with a sentence. By noon, my mother finally called. I let it go to voicemail. Her message was careful at first, the way she spoke when she wanted something without admitting it. There must be some confusion, she said. Talia said the venue lost paperwork. Can you help straighten it out? Help. That word again. I replayed the voicemail twice, then deleted it. Not out of anger. Out of certainty. They didn't want me there, but they still wanted my hands. That was the line. 2 days later, my sister showed up at my apartment unannounced. I knew it was her before I even opened the door. She always knocked too confidently, like she owned whatever was on the other side. I didn't invite her in. What did you do? She demanded, arms crossed, eyes sharp. I stopped authorizing things under my credentials. I said calmly. Her laugh was quick and dismissive. You can't just do that. I can, I replied. I did. Her expression shifted, not to anger, but calculation. You're being dramatic, she said. Mom was upset. That's why she didn't want you there. I held her gaze. She didn't tell me that. You did. Talia rolled her eyes. You always take things personally. There it was. The sentence that had excused everything since childhood. I leaned against the doorframe. Why was the event registered under my professional ID? She blinked. Just once. Then recovered. You said I could use it. For coursework. I said not to bind contracts. Not to assume responsibility. She scoffed. You're splitting hairs. No, I said, I'm drawing lines. That was when her tone changed. You think you're better than us now? She snapped. You think because you have some boring compliance job, you get to control everything? I smiled, not because it was funny, but because it was familiar. I've been controlling everything for years. I said, you just never noticed because it benefited you. She stared at me like she was seeing a stranger. This is unbelievable, she muttered. You're really going to let Mom's retirement be ruined over your feelings? I straightened. You uninvited me from an event I built. That wasn't a feeling. That was a decision. She stepped closer, voice lowering. You always need to be the victim. I didn't raise my voice. I needed to be respected, I said, and you decided I wasn't. Her phone buzzed. She glanced at it, jaw tightening. They're asking me what happened, she said. What am I supposed to tell them? The truth, I replied, that you assumed I'd stay quiet. She laughed again, but this time it sounded thin. You really think this is over? I met her eyes. I think it started. She left without another word. That evening, my parents came together. That should have warned me. They sat stiffly on my couch, hands folded like they were at a mediation session instead of their daughter's home. My mother spoke first. We didn't mean to hurt you. I waited. But you embarrassed us, she continued. People noticed. Of course they did. My father cleared his throat. Your sister said you overreacted. I nodded slowly. Did she tell you she used my professional identity to register the event? Silence. My mother frowned. She said you helped. She didn't have legal authority. I said evenly, if something went wrong, it would have come back on me. My father shifted uncomfortably. That seems extreme. What seems extreme, I replied, is telling me not to attend and still expecting me to carry responsibility. My mother sighed. Families don't handle things this way. No, I agreed. They usually handle them by asking one person to absorb everything. Her eyes filled with tears, but they didn't soften. We raised you better than this. That one landed. I stood. You raised me to be useful. I said, not valued. They left shortly after. Not angry. Not apologetic. Unsettled. The next escalation came a week later. I had a work trip scheduled, 3 days out of town. Routine. Planned months in advance. Against my better judgment, I asked my parents if they could check on my apartment while I was gone. Water plants. Make sure the mail didn't pile up. They agreed quickly. Too quickly. When I came back, something felt off the moment I opened the door. Not broken. Not messy. Just wrong. My document binder, the one I kept in the hall cabinet, was missing. I called my mother immediately. Oh, she said casually. Talia borrowed some things. She said you wouldn't mind. My stomach dropped. What things? Just paperwork, she replied. She said she needed proof for something. I hung up. I drove straight to my parents' house. Talia's car was in the driveway. Inside, papers were spread across the dining table. My papers, my certifications, my account summaries, copies she'd made without asking. She looked up when I entered. Relax, she said. I needed to show someone I was qualified to manage events professionally, using my identity. Again, I didn't shout. I didn't argue. I took out my phone and started taking photos. What are you doing? She demanded. Documenting, I said, something I'm very good at. My father stood abruptly. This is unnecessary. I looked at him. So was erasing me. That night, I made a call, not to family, to the compliance board that oversaw professional credential misuse. I didn't dramatize it. I explained facts. My identity had been used without consent, documents copied, registrations submitted fraudulently. The woman on the line paused. That's not a family disagreement, she said. That's a violation. Hearing that felt like someone finally naming gravity. By the end of the week, Talia was formally contacted. Her certification application was suspended pending review. My parents called in panic. You've gone too far, my mother cried. You're ruining her future. I stayed calm. She used my identity. I said, I protected mine. My father tried one last angle. You didn't have to involve outsiders. I replied softly. You involved them when you told me I didn't belong. The silence after that was different. It wasn't defiant. It was afraid. Because for the first time, the system they relied on, the one where I fixed everything quietly, was no longer available. And they didn't know how to function without it. The call came on a Tuesday morning. Not from my parents. Not from my sister. From a number I didn't recognize. I answered out of habit. "This is the Professional Compliance Review Board." The woman said, "We've completed the preliminary investigation regarding the misuse of your credentials." I sat down slowly. They didn't rush. They didn't dramatize. They spoke the way institutions do when emotions aren't part of the equation. My sister had submitted multiple registrations under my professional identity. She had presented my certifications as her own. She had benefited financially from the assumption that the credentials were legitimate. There would be consequences. Her application was denied. Her provisional license was revoked. Future submissions would require disclosure of the violation. I thanked the woman and ended the call. My hands were steady. I didn't feel victorious. I felt finished. That afternoon, my mother showed up at my apartment again. This time alone. She didn't sit. "I don't understand why you're doing this," she said. "She's your sister." I met her eyes. "And I was your daughter." She flinched. "You're punishing us," she said. "No," I replied. I stopped absorbing damage. She shook her head. "Families forgive. Families don't exploit," I said quietly. She cried then. Real tears. The kind she rarely let herself show. "I just wanted everyone to be happy," she whispered. "And I wanted to be included," I said. "We don't always get what we want." She left without another word. The silence afterward was complete. No calls. No texts. No attempts to smooth things over. And for the first time, it didn't feel like punishment. It felt like honesty. Weeks passed. Life didn't dramatically improve. It stabilized. I went to work. I cooked meals I actually enjoyed. I stopped checking my phone, expecting demands disguised as emergencies. One evening, I ran into an aunt at the grocery store. She hesitated before speaking. "I heard what happened," she said carefully. I nodded. She looked relieved. "Good for you." That was it. No lecture. No advice. Just acknowledgement. That mattered more than she knew. Eventually, my sister sent one last message. Not an apology, an accusation. "You destroyed my chance because you couldn't handle being left out." I read it once. Then I archived the thread. Because the truth was simpler than that. She didn't lose her chance because I spoke up. She lost it because she assumed I never would. My parents never apologized. They adjusted. Carefully. Cautiously. Like people relearning the weight of something they used to lean on without thinking. We see each other now in limited, neutral spaces. Birthdays. Holidays. Short visits with clear exits. They ask before assuming. That alone tells me everything. Sometimes I think about the retirement dinner that never happened, the room that stayed empty, the speeches that weren't given, the photos that don't exist, and I realize something important. That night didn't mark the end of my place in the family. It marked the end of my role. I no longer fix what breaks when it breaks because of disrespect. I no longer fund things I'm not welcome to attend. I no longer lend my identity to people who erase me. I used to believe love meant endurance, that if I just stayed steady, stayed useful, stayed quiet, I'd eventually be valued. I was wrong. Love without respect is just access. And access is something you're allowed to revoke. Choosing yourself doesn't make you cold. It makes you accurate. If you've ever been the one who holds everything together, only to be treated like you're optional, hear this. You're not too much. You're not dramatic. You're just done pretending harm is normal. And sometimes the quietest consequence is the one that lasts.